Good morning from Rapallo, Italy. Today, I'm going to Cinque Terre.
Hi, I'm Laura Bronner. If you're just joining in on this adventure, I've been spending the last week or so traveling around the Italian Riviera. The trip started in the beautiful city of Genoa, where I ate my body weight in focaccia. Then I headed to the town of Camogli to go hiking all the way to San Fruttuoso. From there, I headed over to Rapallo and Santa Margherita Ligure, and finally, the infamous Portofino. Now, I'm about to explore a place that has long been on my bucket list. Cinque Terre is one of the most picturesque, and indeed perhaps one of the most photographed places in all of Italy. Colorful buildings climb the cliff sides, and turquoise waters lap the shores. Cinque Terre translates to 5 lands, and those 5 lands are the 5 small towns and villages that sit within the Cinque Terre National Park. These 5 towns are Riomaggiore, Manarola, Corniglia, Vernazza, and Monterosso al Mare. These 5 towns are linked by a single path which is called the Sentiero Azzurro, the blue path. You can usually walk between all 5 towns, which was my initial plan. But unfortunately, because of some landslides, the path between Riomaggiore, Manarola, and Corniglia were closed. There are tons of trails throughout the national park that are completely free to walk. But if you want to walk any of the Sentiero Azzurro, you have to pay a national park fee, which at the time of visiting in April was €7. However, they offer a pass which is €18 and includes as many trips on the train between the towns as you want. The train between each town costs €5, so it was about the same price for me to get the unlimited ticket since I needed to take at least 2 trains. It meant that if the trail was more challenging than I anticipated, I could hop on the train along the final part without worrying about it. Okay, I got my ticket, I got a map. The ticket costs €18.20, and this includes unlimited use of the train, so I can hop on and hop off between them if I want to. 2 parts of the trail are currently closed. They're going to be closed until like 2024, she said. But I can walk between 3 of the towns at the end part. So from here, where I am in Riomaggiore, I'm going to have to take the train to the next town. But I'm going to spend some time exploring here. I've got all day. And also Wi-Fi, and this ticket includes using the toilets at all the train stations, so let's go. I started the day at the furthest point from where I was staying, at the town of Riomaggiore. The train between each of the towns runs every 30 minutes, so I decided to stick around here for about an hour to explore, since 30 minutes simply didn't seem like enough time, and I'd already spent about 15 minutes waiting in line to get the park ticket. It was only about 9:30 in the morning, so besides a few cafes and bakeries, most places were still just starting to open up. I wandered the hilly streets, found the local church, took in the views back over the coastline, and eventually made my way back to the train station to check out the next town. I've seen videos of what Cinque Terre looks like in the summertime, and I gotta tell you, it's nice and quiet here and early morning on a Wednesday in April. I'm sure on the weekends it's still pretty busy, and also probably later in the day. I obviously started pretty early. The office here, the tourism office, doesn't even open until 9:15, so there's no point in getting here any earlier because you can't get tickets for the trail. So yeah, the trains run between the different stations of the 5 different towns roughly every half an hour, so you can either have a half an hour in the town. I think I'm giving myself about an hour here in Riomaggiore. It's very beautiful, and it's nice, so calm. Just trying to enjoy every stop because one day goes quick, but I've got the whole of it, so. Oh, you guys, it's so beautiful. What a place. The next town along the coastline is Manarola. I stopped for a little cup of coffee as the cafes were opening. The way from Manarola to Corniglia is supposed to be absolutely stunning. However, the path was closed. But you can still walk part of it, which is where you'll find the most incredible viewpoint. This is often the town you see when you Google photos of Cinque Terre. The views from the walkway back over the port of this village are absolutely breathtaking. So after enjoying the view for a bit, I headed back to the train station for the last time and took it to the next stop, Corniglia.
It really couldn't be easier to travel around here. Everyone speaks English. The little card gets you, like the card that I paid for, gets you access to all the bathrooms at the train stations for free, Wi-Fi. All the trains have like plugs on them so you can charge your phone in between. And everything's so well signposted and made for pedestrians. This is great. So you can obviously just take the train between all of the towns and explore them that way, but I still think that you should be relatively mobile. There's still a lot of walking between the train station and the town. It's very hilly, there's lots of stairs, and I saw a woman at the last town fall over, and she was not recovering quickly. So yeah, it's definitely still requires like a level of fitness, even just to do some exploring like on and off the train. But I'm excited to see the rest of the trail from here. I'm walking all the way to the end, so between the next 3 towns, Corniglia, Vernazza, and Monterosso. So let's go.
It was a steep climb from the train station in Corniglia to the town. So just like I said, you definitely want to be at least a little bit fit to tackle the hills and all the stairs around Cinque Terre. Or at least, don't be in a rush. The town of Corniglia looked quite different to the other towns in Cinque Terre. Instead of colorful painted buildings along the cliffside, it was all stone and brick, tiny alleyways, and lots of lush forests surrounding the area.
Corniglia feels really different than the other towns. They're not like colorful buildings, they're more stone. Really different. The town has so many cafes and restaurants. You just want to stop and eat all day. Maybe we should. I arrived to Riomaggiore at 9 a.m. Toured around there, took the train to, where's the next town? Manarola. Toured around Manarola, had a coffee, took the train to Corniglia, toured around Corniglia, had an amazing sandwich, an amazing panino, and now, finally, we're on the trail. Is that a fire? I don't know. I thought it would be busier. I think a lot of people take the train, but ciao. The sun's shining. It's gonna be a good day. Oh, and by the way, it's 12 o'clock, so it's been a long morning. Look at these views, though. It's a little bit hard. I'm about halfway between the 2 towns. I was a little bit worried, I must admit, that I was going to come here and it wasn't going to be all it was cracked up to be, you know? Especially with all the hiking that I was doing leading up until now. But I feel like a lot of videos that you see on YouTube don't show, maybe it's hard to get on video, but like just how beautiful the hiking trail is. Like, you're just along the coast the whole time. Not a little bit, but it's so beautiful. Definitely worth the hype. I will say, I don't know why I thought I should like visit the towns first and then hike. I would highly recommend it if I did this again, starting at the end in Monterosso and walking to Corniglia in the morning when it's not so hot, especially if you're gonna go in the summertime, because it's already about 12:30, and I've got down to my last layers. Some people are doing it in shorts. It's pretty warm. There's little bars and stuff along the way. That's great. There are long stretches of this trail that I have like completely to myself. As far as I understand, that is impossible to do in summertime. So if you want to be able to do this trail sort of at your own pace and without a ton of other people around, midweek April. It's beautiful, and I think you can even come in March and you don't even have to pay, but the weather is probably not as good. This weather is incredible. Look at this. What a place. It looks like I'm just coming into Vernazza now. Looks pretty cool all the way down in here. Look at that out on the peninsula. Those people cheating, taking the boat. Vernazza was definitely the busiest of the 5 towns that I visited. It seems to have quite a lot of restaurants and cafes, and since it was lunchtime, they were all absolutely packed to the brim with tourists. I probably spent the least amount of time in Vernazza compared to the other towns, simply because it was starting to get a little bit hot, and I was conscious of getting to the last town with enough time to hang out and relax before I needed to catch the last train. The trail continued to be absolutely breathtaking, both visually and because there were so many stairs. This was also the busiest I had seen the trails all day. Finally, I arrived in Monterosso al Mare, and it felt so good to have walked and worked to get there. I sat on the beach in the sunshine until the clouds seemed to be lingering a bit too long. I walked to the far end of the beach to see the Gigante statue, and then I treated myself to an ice-cold beer and a few salty snacks while looking out over the Ligurian Sea. So, can you do Cinque Terre in a day? Absolutely, I did it in a day. It was so much fun. I'm really glad I was able to walk some of the trail. It was so beautiful and peaceful most of the time. If I was gonna do it again, while I loved finishing the day like with that accomplished feeling of the hike and like looking out at the sea and having a beer, I think I would have rather done it the other way around. So if you are planning on hiking the Blue Trail, check what is open. I will link to the website below that tells you everything that's open, like which trails are available. They are pretty much going to be closed between Corniglia, Manarola and Riomaggiore until 2024. So I wouldn't plan on that even being an option for the next at least a year or so, maybe a year and a half. But I would start the hike first. I would do the hike first thing in the morning before it gets busy, especially if you guys are gonna be doing it in the summer months. I bet it is so busy. Some people just think that they can like casually stroll on that trail, and it gets a little congested. People who perhaps aren't in walking shape are walking the trail. So there's like just a lot of people stopping in the middle of the trail. Like it got very congested towards the end, and I would really recommend doing it first thing in the morning when the ticket office opens at 9 a.m. Or you can buy the tickets on an app. I'll link that also in the description box. It's an extra euro. I don't know why it's a little bit more expensive on the app, but it's 19 euros instead of 18 for the train and park pass. Should you do it in a day? It really depends on you and what your plans are and how much time you have. If you can dedicate 2 days, I really wish that I had. In hindsight, I would probably have skipped out on the day trip to Portofino, and I would have rather have spent the night in one of the towns, so I could have spent a whole day just checking out the different towns and then another day really concentrating on doing the walk and maybe even some of the other walks. There are so many trails in this national park. The blue one is the most famous, the most popular, because of course it links all the towns and you can sort of sightsee and hike at the same time. But there are hikes that go up into the mountains, especially from Riomaggiore, that look so incredible. So I would really have loved to do that. And I think a return trip, I would definitely try to stay for at least 2 days. So yeah, that's what I would recommend if you have the time to give it a little bit more attention and really get to know these beautiful villages. It's so amazing. I recommend it if you have never been. If you have, let me know which was your favorite town. It'd be a toss-up for me between Manarola, because that view was just so incredible, and I really loved Monterosso. I don't know, I think it's maybe that feeling of having completed the hike at the end, but it was such a beautiful beach and just a nice place to hang out at the end of the day. So yeah, tough call. If you enjoyed this video or found it helpful, please give it a thumbs up. It really supports my channel, and I will see you next time. Bye.